large side towards us and the small side away from you. And this time you're going to make sure that the bone is facing up. You don't want it so that the bone is on the table, that's all meat. You want it so the bone is up on top, right here. Very easy to identify. Now also, what you're going to notice is that one side of the bone, there's a piece of meat that comes off very easily. You can almost start to pull it off with your hands. The other side is much more well adhered, okay? This is the side we're going to start on, the side that's very loose to begin with. Now, the deboning technique requires you to use about that much of your knife right there, about an inch to an inch and a half of your knife. And the reason I say that is because if you're trying to debone something down here with the body of the knife, chances are the tip of the knife is someplace where it doesn't belong. More than likely the palm of your hand, across the top of your finger, or something even just as bad, cutting into a piece of valuable meat. So what I want you to understand is that you want to choke up on the knife, you want to put your finger over the blade, and this makes a great steering tool. A lot of control this way. If most young people, most new people in the industry today will hold their knife like this and think this is the way they're supposed to hold it. Well, look what I have to do to my arm just to get that knife to straighten out. I got to turn my whole arm to get that knife to straighten out. And then it's very difficult for me to make turns. But if I take the knife and let it become an extension of my arm, look at the mobility that I have. I can do figure eights all the way down. All right? So much easier. Much more control. And when you have control, you have quality. Okay, now, the knife is going to be out there straight, tip of your knife, you're going to start right up against the bone. We are deboning. That means you're taking the meat off of the bone, all right? That also means that your knife should be touching the bone the whole time. If your knife is not touching the bone, go back, get back on track, because that means you're doing it wrong. When you're taking the meat off the bone, you're touching the bone with your knife. Whether it's this side of my knife, on this side of the bone, or this side of my knife, on that side of the bone. I'm going to be in contact with this bone as close to 100% of the time as I possibly can. Okay? Okay, so right up here where it's nice and loose, get your knife right up against the bone, flex your knife right against the bone, and start your trimming, start your cutting, your deboning. Butchers need two hands. You have to work in concert with each other. Okay? It's not something you can just do with one hand. You have to work in concert with each other. So get that knife, get your knife in there, get your opposite hand, and as you're cutting, you're literally pushing away with your opposite hand. And notice how straight my elbow is. Okay, I'm not doing this. Got it right up in there. Good technique. See, and now I'm just pushing away. Now I start back at the top again, and I come back down again. And what you're going to do is you're going to come all the way down to the 6 o'clock on the bone. This is where you started, and this is where you stop for now, at the 6. Okay, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Got it? Okay, so you put that back where it was. Now you're going to go this side. This side will be much more difficult. It's much more attached than the other side is. And you see how the meat actually comes up over top of the bone. You have to follow the road. Take the high road, okay? Get your knife right up against there and follow that meat right up over the bone. Remember, we're taking meat off of the bone. And again, I'm working with my opposite hand. I'm pulling the knife as we go. I'm pulling the bone back to the front. Okay. My knife is up against the bone the whole time. Okay, and look what I'm doing. Look how clean I'm getting it. Just by making sure that the tip of my knife, remember, now look, that's all the knife I'm using right now. That's all I'm using. That much. Just to make sure I'm up against the bone and I'm not cutting into the good meat. Okay, down that side we go. Then all of a sudden, we can get our hand under there. Okay, we went from 12 to 6 on the right, 12 to 6 on the left. I'm still a little bit attached, so let me get my knife in there, just run it right up along the bone. Bingo. That's the easy part. Believe it or not, that's the easy part. Now, I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that. I hate doing that. God, it bothers me. pull it back. Here's where you're going to run into a little bit of a difficulty until you understand what it looks like underneath this meat that you can't see. Let's just say this is the bone, okay? This little piece down here, this is what we call a hook. There's a little hook down there. There's a little start of a bone growth right here that will eventually grow from here and attach itself up here, or from here and attach itself up in here. The bone is called a stifle bone. You don't need to really know that, I don't think, but it's good to understand that as this animal matures, this bone growth will come up here. All right. So what you're going to do now as you get this nice and clean, okay, you're going to hold on to this, and you're going to lay it down, and you're going to start to literally cut around this hook. Just say I got my handle is the bone. I'm holding the bone. I'm going to pull it down, and I'm going to start to work my way around that hook until I free the whole thing off. Okay? Close as we can. Turning the knife, turning. There's the hook. Down we go. Boom. Now look. You see the difference? See? Let me clean that out a little bit so you can see it better. That's what you're dealing with. Okay, there's your example. Okay. Just coincidentally, this knife has a handle like that. And when I saw that, I said, oh, this would be a good learning tool. Okay, there's the hook. Now, this is mostly cartilage right now at this age. That doesn't mean that some of you will have a bone that's more developed and could be this high. I've even seen some that are still are connected. All right, that's just if you have something like that, I'll notice it and I'll help you, and we'll get through that. Once you have the bone out like this, I want you to bring the bone to me, and I'll be up here. I'll be walking around, and just hold the bone like this, and just turn it in your hand so I can see how well you did. Then I can check off and start the grading process for Chef Schneller. Okay.